Hi there, ho there. You're as welcome as could be. Welcome to the show. Well, at least the pre-show, where we don't really do anything. We just get set up. So, this is no Pulitzer Prize winning moments of radio or podcasting or either, but it is a necessary evil. Testing 1 2, testing 1 2 3 4. All right. Wow, it just looks like my sound is hot, but my settings are no different. Oh well, if I sound okay, then we're okay. All right. Happy birthday, Mom. Who's Mom? Your mom, Barbie D? Okay, and we're now... That's like a God voice in the background. You will build an ark. Field guy, wake up. All right. Let's put God voice away. Boom, like that. Na 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 na. All right, we are ready to roll in about about a minute and a half? 2.5 minutes. Cheers. Somebody left their coffee on my desk. So, isn't that funny? She used this one. I used this one. Harry Potter. It wasn't even coordinated. We didn't even send each other memos. It must be love. All right, it's 2 minutes and 35 seconds after. We got 2 minutes. Go ahead and drink it. I made a fresh one when I got here. I wish. I'd like to have some coffee. I've just got... I got Captain Kirk brew. There he is. So this was one of the prototypes. It's not the final. So, it has an icy peachy vitamin with a little splash of wildberry drops in it, and it makes quite the interesting concoction. So, all right. Coffee give me a headache. That's because you don't drink enough of it, Romeldian. It's like beer makes me drunk. Well, if you keep drinking more beer, you won't get drunk so fast. Oh, I need the caffeine some days. I really do. All right. I know what I'm talking about tonight. I just don't know what I'm talking about. So my head's not at it yet. So you'll have to bear with me as we get into character, get into mode. We got about 20 seconds left and we go live. You know the drill, folks. We go dark for a few seconds and then we go live. Coming back in. All right. Want you all to sit tight. Be right back.
Are you looking for a really awesome and amazing graphic designer? How about an illustrator or a photographer? This is Rainey Roberts, and I wanted to tell you how you can get my designer, illustrator husband, Scotty Roberts, to work for you on your project. Do you have an awesome self-published book but no cover, or even worse, a cover that really sucks? Do you need a kick-ass logo for your company or some f***ing awesome graphic designs for your ads or website? Then get in touch with my husband for the best f***ing awesome kick-ass design and illustration. He knows his stuff, and he's been at this for more years than I've been alive. Go to ScottAllenRoberts.com. That's Scott with 2 T's, ALANROBERTS.com to take a look at his online portfolio of work, or call 651-468-8115. Now go out and kick some ass with some kick-ass graphic design.
Hire my dad so he can take me to Disneyland.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent Talk.
And just like that, the Department of Disinformation was no more. You all hear that news? The Department of Disinformation, which started less than a month ago, something like that, so the government could tell you what you should and shouldn't hear on the internet. Yes, the United States of America, this constitutionally limited republic with several amendments, and the first being one that guarantees free speech. That government, this administration, this current administration, establishing a Department of Disinformation to make sure that there's nobody out there who would have to hear any kind of misinformation given from people that weren't of their party. And you know what? Only dummies thought that was a great idea. What idiots? What country did they think we're in? Oh my God. And now I'm launching and I haven't even introduced the show. But you know where you are. I'm Scotty Roberts. This is the Intrepid radio program right here on the Odyssey radio station. Go to odysseyradio.com. That's ODYSY radio.com. And you can hear this show broadcasting from the radio station there in all of its audio glory. But you want to see the simulcast in video? There's two ways to do it. Come on over to Facebook, facebook.com/Odyssey Radio, and over at my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Scotty Roberts. And while you're there, you can join the family of Intrepid chatters. I didn't even know where I was going to go at the end of that sentence. So you can join the chat room with the other Intrepids. I think that's what I was going to say. You know, I say this stuff every night, and I can still screw it up. So come on in, join the chat room, subscribe, like the video if you're watching it, and at the same time, hit the join button, and you can become part of the family officially. So come on over. Glad to see you here. Everybody that's over in the chat room, welcome tonight. I didn't use the time over in the pre-show to welcome you all in, but you know, in my heart, I'm welcoming you all. And I appreciate each and every one of you. But anyway, the Department of Disinformation, gone. Gone, man. And you know what that prompted when the current administration put up a Department of Disinformation, which everybody in their red-headed step-cousin knew had everything to do with trying to control the media. They all got on Trump for saying the media was fake and fake news and all of that. But what were they doing? They were trying to control it, which, you know, it's a political game, but it shows you what's really in the hearts of people when they get into office. If those people that you vote into office really get your vote because they say, I'm all for America, I'm fighting for America, and all of that stuff, and they get into office and they do everything they can to thwart the Constitution, to circumvent it, to do something different than what the Constitution says. You know what you got there? A bunch of liars. You got a bunch of people who don't give two rats' asses about their country. They care about the power. I don't care what party you are. I don't care what side of the fence you're on in political ideology, what end of the spectrum and all of that stuff. So, oh, my. Well, damn it! There you go. I turned down the mic so I could. That was a brilliant opening too for the last 10 minutes, or whatever it was, 6 minutes. My mic was down. That's how I piss myself off. I've got everything under control. I know what the hell I'm doing, and I realize I didn't port up my mic because I only ported it down for the intro of the show. Ay, 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 ay. There we go. I thought I was over those days. There it is. I don't know if I just get so excited to get the show running or what it is I do, but there you go. So sorry, folks. Sorry over there at Odyssey Radio Land. Sorry to the bosses over there, but yes, I neglected to port up my mic after the show started. Iowa X. That's probably an apt WKRP in Cincinnati right here in Somerset. So just barely hear you. Oh, yeah, at least you heard something of me, huh? You could hear something? Well, that's good. Because my mic was showing that I was ported all the way up on the screen. It was showing me the lines. I go testing, and I go wham, 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 wham. I thought, wow, I'm coming in loud. And then, of course, I wasn't up at all. So there are some nuanced what's the word I'm looking for? Why is the word escaping me? It's because I started the statement backwards. Not onomatopoeia, not metaphor, not entendre. There are nuanced entendre in that line. The mic was not ported up, but it looked like it was. So anyway, banner, says Brianna Learman. I had that going too yesterday. It's one of those days. So, and you know what I did? I fell asleep. I was up at about 3:45 this morning, doing my thing. I was up and around, loving life, busy, happy, dancing, doing that kind of stuff, having coffee. And round about 4:30, 5 o'clock, I fell asleep. And, 12 hours later, 13 hours later. And I woke up about a half an hour before the show. It's like I slept half a night already. Maybe that's why I sleep so little at night. I fall asleep in the afternoon. Can I do something for you? I am on radio. You know that thing we talk about every day?
I'm wearing this tomorrow. Does it look like a dress?
No, it doesn't look like a dress at all.
Okay, good. I'm not a dress person.
All you remember the Andy Griffith Show? He would always say to Opie, he says, "No, I don't think I want to let you go fishing today at all." At all. So, my children, every day, listeners, viewers, every day, don't we go through this every day with my children? Don't we say the same thing every day? I'm doing radio here.
My tongue's blue from eating one single sour candy, see?
Can't help you. I'm sure that's lovely on the radio network after I went 10 minutes of the show without my mic ported up. Well, only about 6 minutes. Okay, out. See ya. Bye. No, I don't care about you. You're right. You were adopted. You were that one that was left in a box on our back porch. They didn't even want to put you they didn't even want you on the front porch. They left you on the back porch. So, yeah, you're right. You've just learned to accept it as part of your show, says Leslie. Thank you, Leslie. What, my daughter or me forgetting to turn things on? And I was so proud of myself. Look what I did. I started that, and I had the mic down. Well, anyway, what I was saying when I came on at first, I said, how about that Department of Misinformation or Disinformation? That's what I was talking about the whole 6 minutes. Maybe it's because it was more political than anything else. And once again, when I talk about anything that smacks of politics, it's because it's current information, it's current events. We can't ignore it all the time. But I came on, and some of you said you could barely hear me, so I must have had it down, but not enough. Anyway, moving on. What about that Department of Disinformation? Gone, man. Gone, baby. Wasn't even around for 30 days, was it? And that's what you get when you've got an administration and a certain political mindset in power in this country that wants to circumvent the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and the amendments at any opportunity, so long as it suits their power. And it's evident. And if anybody out there thinks that it was a good thing to have the Department of Disinformation, I'm going to make an emphatic empirical statement. God, are you effing dumb? You don't belong in this country because that's not what this country is about. Now, I'm not saying you got to get out of the country. I'm saying get with the program. Learn who you are. Remember who you are. And you're Americans. And if you don't want to be an American, don't try to change the country. Go somewhere else. This country was founded on certain principles. And when you have people coming into power, I don't care what party you belong to, what end of the political spectrum you are on. If you don't like what the principles your country was founded on, what are you doing here? Making trouble. Now, if you want to change the Constitution, go through the process. Either elect somebody, be behind electing somebody that will change it for you, that will lead the charge to change it. Take it to get it all the way up to a constitutional convention to propose an amendment. I propose doing away with the First Amendment or modifying it to suit my power needs. And then get 2/3 of the states to ratify it for you. Boom, you're in. You got it. Then you've changed the country. If you want to change the Constitution, get the hell out. Now, I will amend that a little bit, Leslie, over in the chat room for the radio listeners. We all have a right to amend the Constitution, but there is a process. And when you go through that process, that is how you make an amendment or propose an amendment and so on. It's like things like the DOMA Act, the Defense of Marriage Act. That was an amendment that they wanted made to the Constitution that says the Constitution must define that marriage in the United States is between only a man and a woman. I was against it. The Constitution shouldn't spell that out. That is a moral issue. Take it to church. Take it to your synagogue. Take it wherever. But the Defense of Marriage Act was a bunch of bullshit. You don't do that, because if you do that, it was the religious right that was behind it. If you pass an amendment that states those things and that makes it a constitutional amendment, which, what is the purpose of the Constitution? To guarantee or to protect it doesn't give you rights, it protects your rights. It's the document that says these are the rights that this government will defend. This is what the Constitution does. And so you want the Constitution saying you can only marry a man if you're a woman, and you can only marry a woman if you're a man. Now, maybe you believe that's right. It's a big world out there. You have a right to believe that. Do you have a right to impose that on other people because that's your belief? No. So belief is, whether you like it or not, that belief is free speech. That's freedom to express yourself. So I was against the DOMA Act. I'm against certain constitutional amendments that are proposed out there. So it doesn't matter what political stripe you are. It doesn't matter what political ideology you possess. You have to think through what should be a constitutional right, a right guaranteed by the Constitution, whether you like it or not. And I keep bringing this up when I talk about constitutionality, but you remember the Scotty case. And I only said you remember it because I remember it from, I wasn't old enough to understand it when it happened in 1968. But we saw a miniseries, and you remember Danny Kaye, that wonderful character, actor, musician, singer, dancer, all that with the old movies. He was with UNICEF in his later years as a spokesman. Danny Kaye was in a movie made for TV on the Scotty case, way back when I think I was still in high school when they made that, or I was at least in college. And the Scotty case, where the new Nazi party, whatever they called themselves, the new neo-Nazis or the Nazi Party of America or whatever it was, they wanted to put on a march in the town of Scotty, Ohio. And they targeted Scotty, Ohio, because it was predominantly Jews who had gone through the war. This is 1968, so you're talking 23 years after World War II, after the Holocaust, after all of this, and there were a lot of elderly Jews in the town. And they were like, no, we don't want this. Well, the ACLU stepped in and said they have a right, a constitutional right to protection of free speech. You don't have to agree with somebody else's speech for it to be protected, unless that speech is literally harming someone. I'm not talking about, oh, I hate you, I'm harmed because I'm angry about what you're saying. No, literal harm, and literal breaking of the law. So the neo-Nazi party, they said, we just want a peaceful demonstration. We want to march through the town in uniform with our flags, sing our songs or whatever they are, and move along. They didn't even have a rally, if I remember right. They just marched. And because the town was against it, the ACLU got involved. They went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled in favor of the neo-Nazis, saying if you deny them the right to their free speech, was the argument, what's going to happen when it's your free speech on the block? You can't just arbitrarily decide what falls under free speech. And so that case was won, 1968. And that's exactly what I'm talking about here. It looks like the Scotty folks got even with the ACLU. Oh, what happened? What are you referring to over in the chat room? So all I'm talking about is it doesn't matter if you dislike somebody else's beliefs. You need to defend their right to have free speech if they are a citizen of this country. You talking to me?
I said, unless you're an old white man.
Unless you're an old white man, Rainey said. That's right. That's right. Old lady.
Per your daughter's friends.
Yeah, per my daughter's friends. Yeah, I hate to say that. My daughters, my mermaid daughters, my twin daughters, they have a lot of their friends, and I put quotation marks around it. Some of them are their friends. Some of them are just, they don't like Abby and Bryn's dad, me. Why? Because I'm of a different political, I'm on the opposite of the political spectrum. And I'm the old white guy from Wisconsin. So, who obviously has nothing good to say because I'm, these are the people that will stand for everybody's rights and everybody. I can't believe you said you don't like the idea of having a black girl play Ariel in the new mermaid movie. The live action Little Mermaid. I never said I didn't like it. I said creatively, I was hoping that they were going to stick with the original look of the cartoon and so on. But, they cast a black girl. I said, I don't care. An African American. Well, it was things like that set their whole community off, that you're just a racist. I said, no, I'm not. I said, we're talking about creative direction here, right? I said, creatively? Yeah. Yes, I see that hand.
Did you ever turn up your sound?
I did.
Okay, good job.
I did. They'd still be yelling at me if I hadn't.
And I would like to yell at Uncle Dave. He spelled my name wrong. What the fuck?
What?
Yeah, he
Uncle
spelled my name
Dave?
Rainy with the Y. I'm not Rainy with the
You
Y.
spelled rainy with a Y, Uncle Dave. Do you not know these? Do you not know these things? She's angry at you now.
I'm crying angry tears.
Angry tears she's shedding over there. I'll just have you know. Yes, Brianna, my twin daughters. I mean, I was trying to not say that because I was trying to be serious, but it came out anyway. So, all of that to say, today they did away with the brand new, spanking new Department of Disinformation in the government. And I got to tell you, and this is where I heard that my mic was off when I was going through all this stuff, that I saw it in the news today, that the Department of Disinformation has been put away. Now, when you get any political party in power in this nation, this constitutionally limited republic that wants to put restraints on your First Amendment rights, your Second Amendment rights, that doesn't mean they can't manage them. When they try to circumvent them and get around them, it shows you that these are not people who, while running for office, I'm going to fight for America and I'm going to be everything America needs to be and I'm going to fight for you and we're going to make America, America, America. And then they get into office and they do all these things to try to circumvent what America is. You tell me that the First Amendment is wrong, that people should not have the protected right to express their thoughts, free speech, and then followed up followed immediately by the Second Amendment, which says, you take my rights away, I have the right to resist you as a government. Those things are there. They are written there. We stand for those things. And when you have a party or an agenda or a political movement in office that doesn't want to honor those things,
Jesus Christ.
my wife is so distracting. I do have to add here. Now, you hear this kind of stuff every day. She's standing over there in she's got a great tank top on today, and she looks marvelous, and all that hair and stuff. And she's over there and she's brushing her teeth. But she's bottomless. She's naked from the waist down.
I don't like to wear pants.
I don't like to wear pants, she says. Well, thank you. I was trying to not be distracted, and I was distracted. So,
It's your fault for looking.
yeah, my fault for looking. There you go.
Even trying to be distracted.
Freedom of
Like I'm
expression.
doing this.
It's not like you were doing that. Oh, I love the happy dance. There you go. It's what it is, folks. It's what it is. So, what did Leslie say? That somebody said, on point. It's only wrong to people who want to control every aspect of our lives. Boom, there it is. And once again, I have to put in this disclaimer. To me, this is not political talk. This is current event talk. This is talk about our lives. This is what's going on. And I got to tell you, I don't care what party you are, what political persuasion you are, if you don't see what's currently going on with this administration and what's currently going on in this country to undermine the Constitution, to work around the Constitution, to do away with the Constitution, then you're fucking stupid. Just leave it there. All right? So, it was all better when it was organic the first time around when my mic was off. But there we are. And so let's drink a little toast to the death of the Department of Disinformation. Which, by the way, what was it? This administration, well, I don't know that it was, President Joe's idea. I don't know how many original ideas he has. And I'm not saying that as a slam. I'm saying that in that he's an old guy who is, his cognitive abilities are gone. And we're just going to ride it out, though, aren't we? No 25th Amendment here. That's because I think the Democrats would be scared to death to have Kamala Harris be the president of the United States. Or, after her, Nancy Pelosi. I think they're riding it out because they know they made a stupid mistake in putting Joe in office. Because Joe was done before he got there. And we won't even get into the elder abuse issue. So anyway, back to my point. All of these people have started trying to implement policies and do things that recreate America in their image and what they want it to be. It ain't Joe Biden. And the Department of Disinformation, that was all, it was aimed at the internet. It was so that on the internet, well, we can't allow misinformation to just be there every day. Well, hi.
Hi.
We can't allow that to be there every day. We can't allow there to be misinformation. And what did they label as misinformation? Well, obviously, the things that went against their political ideologies, their political agendas, their narrative. But we've got to control that now. We've got to have a Department of Disinformation that would keep you and me and anybody else from spreading disinformation. Hell, who knows if anybody caught wind of this broadcast and that was in play, you might see my account taken down because I'm spreading misinformation about the party that's in power. So there you go. Somebody was at least smart enough to say, we got to pull the plug on this because America was like, you guys are fucked in the head. We are not doing this. And pardon my F words, YouTube and Odyssey Radio. You guys slipped too. So there you go. And welcome, by the way. David Castle comes in just as I'm saying fucked. And he says, greetings and favor to you. Sorry, but I make no apologies. So the Department of Disinformation, gone. Gone, baby. And it should never have been implemented. The fact that this administration, the people who are controlling the government right now, the very fact that they would even conceive of a Department of Disinformation should tell you a whole lot about that whole group of people in power. It's not about serving you and doing what's best for America. It's about getting power and maintaining it and retaining it. It's obvious. And the only America they wanted was the America that they wanted. But it wasn't about that, was it? There was no vision. There is no foresight. There is no... You got it. There you go. I don't use the word, but I still respect your views, Scotty. Well, thank you, Matthew Sainsbury. It's a good word. It can be used for serious anger. It can be used for comedy. It can be used for satire. It can be used for everything. It can be used to tell your child to shut the F up. So that's enough. 10-year-old. So, nobody tells me what I can read or listen to, says Morgan Snow. Exactly. Oh, Department of Disinformation? I thought they were getting rid of the news. Yeah. No. There's too much disinformation that's been pointed out. Even by some of your liberal media, your leftist media are going, hey, because they've about had it too. The things coming out of the administration, they're going, that's wrong. Why isn't the Ministry of Disinformation pounding the ass of the people that in the administration that are lying or spreading disinformation. And you know why the news is doing that now, even though that's not their political ideology? Because too many Americans already know this and are voicing their opinion. They're saying, no, this ain't right, and it ain't so. So, I'm just looking at the chat room. Fuck means to strike in Old English, says Iowa X. So if you go into the etymology of the word, you get the idea. So we're all stupid in their eyes, says Morgan Snow. Exactly. When my government starts to think that I and we and us are just stupid and they can do whatever they want, so you better watch out for your government. So anyway, that is not at all the topic for tonight, is it? And it's already 9:36. But I had to get that off of my chest because you should be thankful that they have pulled the plug on the Department of Disinformation, because it was really the department of making sure you couldn't say anything against the party in power. And that's how they go about trying to win elections. That's how they'll try to win the next election. The Department of Disinformation, I watched Joe Biden say something 2 days ago that I said, where's the Department of Disinformation? He was trying to compare the killings by one insane, psychopathic white guy who went and killed 10 black people in a black mall, shopping mall the other day. And he was trying to compare that and compare it to their January 6th stuff about the storming of the Capitol a year and a half ago. And they were trying to paint it as a Republican or a conservative or a white thing. And here is Joe Biden, that great, austere unifier of people in America, which is what he said he was going to do. I'm going to unify us all now. Well, what he really meant was I'm going to unify you. If you think the way we think, then you're unified with us. But they are attempting to try to sway people's minds for the upcoming midterm elections in November. Now, this is more political, but they're trying to sway your thinking. And not your thinking. They're not trying to sway the thinking of the thinking. If you already think, they know they can't sway your mind. Who are they trying to sway? People who don't think. The general masses that have no idea even who, they couldn't name a Supreme Court justice. They might not even be able to tell you who the Speaker of the House is, despite all the news. Some of them might not even be able to tell you who the president is, which is hard to believe, but you'll find pockets of those kind of people out there. The people who do not think are being targeted by those telling you what to think. Because that is where their votes are going to come from. And they're really pushing, the mail-in vote. And there's nothing intrinsically wrong with mail-in voting until it's being done to try to pull in votes from the mindless. If I was running for office, I don't want mindless people voting for me. I'd want people who think voting for me. And God, there are days I watch answers from some politicians out there, and I go, if I was a politician, I'd incorporate the word fuck every now and then. Oh, shock, the news. The president uses the F word. Senator Roberts uses the F word or whatever. I'm just throwing in titles there. But you get the idea. I'd be so tempted to be in a debate with some ignoramus rodhead who's trying to sway the people with his political ideology, trying to lie his way through, that are probably in the debate. I go, first things first, fuck off. Now, Now let me get to my rebuttal of what you had to say. Go fuck yourself. So there it is. Okay, I've said fuck enough. I'll probably get a fucking pink slip. So I think we can handle it. We're all adult to handle the word fuck, aren't we? Adult enough? You don't hear me say it that often when I'm not talking about politics. So there it is. Anyway, I think we've had enough of that. Let's move on. Our topic of the night. Anybody know what the topic of the night is? Do you remember? Do you remember why we're here? The topic of the night? So it's this whole we were talking about Jung last night. I'm not going to get into it deep. I just want to tell you what we're doing for the topic that we aren't actually hitting. So we were talking about this whole thing of being yourself, of gaining self, of being awake, of I can't even say it right now. The individuality, the individuation, the self and individuation that Jung talked about. And Jung said human nature as this invincible dread of becoming more conscious of itself. And he laid out his case. Individuation. It's how we in the great sea, the mass, the corporate entity of humanity, how we pull out our individualism, who we are on an individual basis. And last night we got it. Maybe we'll just hit one of these points because we're not going to get very far with this tonight, as you can already tell. But we got up as far as relationship and this whole talking about individuation and the self and his thinking about the self. Carl Jung, a contemporary of Freud, a contemporary of Adler, one of the fathers of modern psychology. His thinking about the self and its dynamic of individuation separates Jungian analytical psychology from other psychoanalytical schools. And we went into talking about what individuation was, how it works, what it is. The concept of individuation is the cornerstone of, Jungian psychology. We were talking about the collective and the personal elements of self versus individuation. And individuation, it's a clunky word to say, so it's easy to trip over it. Individual, think of individual, individuation. And it's the neurotic condition is one where the collective is denied. And the psychotic is where the personal is denied. And the archetypical inflation can overwhelm the ego. And so Jung got into describing the difference of ego, that ego comes out of self, not self out of ego. And so we got down to relationship we were talking about. The self is relational, ourselves. Individuation is dependent upon relationships with others. Jung went so far as to say this. He said, the self is relatedness. The self only exists inasmuch as you appear. Not that you are, but that you do the self. The self appears in your deeds, and deeds always mean relationship. Freud said that in 1930s. Deeds always mean relationship. In his autobiography, by the way, Jung, in 1961, he wrote this. He presents us with a conundrum when he also states that the goal of individuation is detachment from emotional relationships. Oh, wait, didn't he just contradict himself now? If he said self is the basis of relationships, now he's saying you got to detach. Individuation detaches from emotional relationships. Emotional relationships he defines as tethered because they're relationships of our desires. And on those desires, we place our expectations of other people. We all have expectations. Think of your expectations of the person that you have relationships with. The people, the plural. I mixed the plural and the single. Of the people that you have relationships with. Think of the expectations you have there. If I talk to you, I expect you to talk back to me. If I'm in a relationship, I've got expectations. We're tethered. Our relationships are all tethered because of the desire with expectations of others. And Jung recommended that in order to attain objectivity and selfhood, an individual needs to withdraw the projections that are inherent in emotional ties to other people. To tell me you don't project your expectations of somebody else. Let's say you're a woman, you're married to a man. Are your expectations that he's going to come home after work instead of going to the bar? He's going to help you take care of the kids. He's going to do laundry with you. He's going to earn enough money. He's going to do this. He's going to do that. We have expectations. Guys have expectations. We're wired differently. We have those expectations of our wives. We have expectations in the sexual realm. We have expectations in the financial realm. We have expectations in the relational realm. So when we have friendships or relationships, we have expectations. And you know what we do? We project those expectations onto the other person. It doesn't always have to be a spouse or a significant other. It can be just friends. Think of the expectations that you project onto the other person that you have a relationship with. I expect you to call me once in a while. I expect you to rub my back. I expect these things. It could be from the mundane to the very serious, the very deep set emotional issues. We project those expectations onto our relationships. And so, in this light, looking at psychoanalysis could be seen as the playing out of emotional relationships between an analyst and a patient when we're talking about psychology. And it's got a view to facilitating the reintrojection of projection. How's that for a mouthful? How's that for a little bit of word salad, Kamala Harris? The reintrojection of projections. And we have the reintrojection of projections because we need to project our reintrojections. And that's why we interject with our projections. That's my best Kamala Harris I can give you for tonight. So we have this reintrojection of projections in the resolution of the transference or counter-transference, it's called. Jung implied this when he described that the transference phenomenon as, without doubt, one of the most important syndromes in the process of individuation, that transference phenomenon between you and the other person. So is it a state or is it a process? Does individuation come as a state of being? I am now individualized. I am the archetype of individuation. I am in individuation. Is it a state of being or is it a process? When I made a comparison to what we used to teach in church. This process, we talked about the Christian or the believer needed to be somebody who was sanctified, as the biblical account says. What did it mean to be sanctified? It meant holy, sanctified. But as I taught to the kids in my youth group, and kids, I mean, little older kids, I taught them sanctification is the process by which God makes me holy. That was a theological concept. So is individuation a state of being, or is it a process? The process by which I become an individual, or which I pull my individuality out of the mass. And so this other area of confusion is whether Jung considered individuation to be a state capable of being attained. I have attained individuation. Or is it an ongoing process, something that keeps going on and on and on, which is what I tend to believe. But in memories, dreams, reflections, one of Jung's books, he declared that finding the mandala, as an expression of the self was for him attaining the ultimate. I don't know how that works. This was his thing. He had to find the mandala. And so also cryptically, he refers to the completion of his own individuation. The objectivity he experienced in a dream about his wife after her death, he described as part of the completed individuation. So Jung really had a belief that it was something that there was a process that you could complete to become an individual. But he perceived self-realization as different from Eastern mystical ideas of achieving nirvana or a samadhi or a state of perfection that's attained by yogis. I can't say yogi. I haven't been able to say yogi seriously since I was a kid. Hey, Mr. Ranger, sir, are you individuated? Give me that picnic basket. Oh, yogi. So that's Boo Boo, the bear. That's the best I can do for Boo Boo. But the universal consciousness, such mystics describe, that he understood as equivalent to unconsciousness. That's the universal consciousness is equivalent to unconsciousness, where the unconsciousness has swallowed up the whole ego consciousness. And he states that the universal consciousness is a contradiction in terms, since exclusion and discrimination are at the root of everything that lays claim to the name consciousness. Exclusion and discrimination are at the root of everything that lays claim to consciousness. And he conceded that yogis can achieve a remarkable state of extension of consciousness where subject and object are almost completely identical. However, he also argues that individuation is this active, ongoing process and not a static state. When he proclaims this, Jung said this: consciousness should defend its reason and protect itself, and the chaotic life of the unconscious should be given the chance of having its own way too, as much of it as we can stand. This means open conflict and open collaboration all at once. So this is where all these, what do I want to call them? The denizens of philosophical psychology of the mind, how they sit around and they tear all this stuff down to its core and try to rebuild it to understand it. And you can see how confusing it can get, trying to break it down. Really, it comes down to individuation can be seen as a process that is never fully completed. But it's one that can generate experiences which feel momentarily as if it's been attained. So you can feel like you've made it at times, but it's only temporary because you're still on the path of making it. And people go, I don't get up every day and strive to be an individual. Well, this is the whole idea of understanding who yourself is as an individual. And so there's this prevalence of individuation. How widespread is individuation? It's universal. It's commonplace, or you might want to say it's even aristocratic in that sense, in its own setting. It's a vocation. Is it a vocation for the elite only? People who have time to think about this stuff? When you're not out trying to make money to make sure the electricity doesn't go off next week? Of course, this all depends on what we mean by it. And Jung calls individuation and we got to end on this point because we're almost at the end of the show. We got 2 minutes left, less than. Jung calls individuation an unconscious, natural, spontaneous process, but also a relatively rare one. I was rolling all my I's and Y's together, R's and Y's. Relatively rare. Relatively rare. Ruh-roh. So Jung said, only experienced by those who have gone through the wearisome but indispensable business of coming to terms with the unconscious components of the personality are those who are reaching individuation and self and full self. And so there's a lot more material here. Don't know how long I'll carry this on unless I meld it into some other things. I thought we'd be finished with this tonight, but of course we're not. Why? Because I went off on the Department of Disinformation and all of that stuff and all that goes with that. So I'm going to end the individuation thing right there for now. We may pick this up again tomorrow night if I think it's worth the time. If I think that it's something you guys really dig and you really want to get into it again tomorrow night, we will. You can state your opinion in the chat room. But the Department of Disinformation, now that it's banned, won't be able to knock your opinion out of the way if it's the wrong opinion. And so we got about 10 seconds left and we're out of here. So you know what, folks? I want you to, you know it, I want you to live long and prosper.
You're listening to the Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent Talk.
And just like that, we are back. Welcome to the Captain's Cabin. This is kind of the after show. If you're new here and you're watching, we stick around for a little while after the show. And we chat about things, sometimes about the show itself, sometimes about other things completely different. But in just a couple of seconds here, I got to knock us off of the stream. Boom, we're done. And I have to stop the recording, the audio. And there we go. And now guess what? We're back. So we're back here. It's just us. We're just talking now. Post-show. I didn't get a chance to see much of your comments. I saw a few of them throughout the show, but Matthew Sainsbury, you're right. It doesn't happen overnight. So, hey, I did a project on him, said Brianna Learman, on Freud. I'm sorry, Jung? Carl Jung? Carl Jung. What project did you do, Brianna? What's it? Where's your picture? There's a big orange bee. Well, it's a white bee in an orange circle, but there you go. Joker in Full Metal Jacket does the best job explaining Jung in 30 seconds or less. Yes, I forgot all about that. I think I'm going to have to go refresh myself on that. So, let's see. Everyone different to Iowa X. I'm looking at all your comments. Delaney Pearl Jones. Leslie says, I mastered that word when Obama was in office. Never said it before in my life before that. Oh, the Effenheimer? Yeah, exactly. I know what you mean. I hear you. I did the project with you on Jung? Brianna, I remember doing the Irish project with you. I don't remember the Jungian project. I must not have been paying close attention. Sorry. What was it? I didn't forget. I just don't remember. What was the project about? I don't remember the Jungian project. Brianna, do share. You can call in if you want. By the way, if anybody wants to call into the studio for here, the Captain's Cabin, you're welcome to. Here it is. I'm going to paste it into the chat room. Boom. There you go. Call, express your mind. That reminds me of Kuato. You know who Kuato was? Open your mind. You remember what that's from? Gold Star, if you remember. I look flushed. Must be going off on politics. Scotty, you did it unconsciously. Yeah, I must. I must have tapped into the unconsciousness, the subconscious mind, to do the Freudian project with Brianna. It must have just been something you had me help you put together, and the Irish one was fun. I remember that one. So, Carl Jung, Freud, and Andrew Jackson. Oh, okay. Now I remember vaguely. So, but I remember we worked on a project together. I don't remember the Jungian aspect of it. So that's cool. Now I kind of remember it. For psychology, yep. I remember the Andrew Jackson part. So there it is. And I must have said to you, oh, Carl Jung. I like Carl Jung. Carl Jung. So I'm pretty sure I did something like that. Hey, a good book, by the way. I'm going to recommend, if I didn't recommend this last night, I can't remember if I did or not, is Born to be Hanged by Keith Thompson. What a great book this is. It's the subtitle all by itself makes you want to pick it up and read it. The epic story of the gentleman pirates who raided the South Seas, rescued the princess, and stole the fortune. Yes, I do remember telling you about this last night, now that I'm reading that again. But I want you to get just a little flavor of this. I'm not going to read the book. I'm just going to read a section of the book here. It opens up like this. They say, now, by the way, when you submit a book to a publisher, if your agent submits a book to a publisher for you, they tell you to type out your book idea synopsis or the opening pages of your book, whatever it might be, onto a one sheet. Don't send a whole book in. Nobody's going to look at a manuscript if they don't know who the hell you are. And you send it in a 9x12 envelope so they can crack it open, grab the one sheet, pull it out, many times not even fully out of the envelope. They look at it, and if they are grabbed in the first paragraph to the first page, you might have a deal on your hands. But these slush piles they have what's called a slush pile. If you don't have an agent representing you and you send your stuff in, you got to send it in that way. And agents have a little more pull with the publishers because agents are professionals. They're like a lawyer coming to you. And so they'll look at the people represented by agents first, but they have a slush pile. All those envelopes go in 3,000 envelopes a week, go on a big pile with some of these publishers. And they crack them open and they pull the thing out and put it back in and either throw it out or if you've enclosed an envelope, they throw it on the assistant's pile who mails it back and says, thank you, but no thanks. They have to be captured in the first few words. And many times those words make it to the book itself. And so I looked at this. When I picked this up, I was looking at the opening of this book. Chapter 1, The Princess. It starts like this, and it says, now this is this book, Born to be Hanged. It's about piracy. And a particular character, Ringrose was his last name, Nigel Ringrose. And Uncle Dave will like this because he played the character Captain Henry Morgan out at the festival for years. He was a contemporary of Henry Morgan. As part of your show prep, you should watch some of your past episodes, especially last night's episode, so you know what you talked about. Why are you saying that, Dave? I knew what I talked about last night. I was talking about self and individuation. And I picked up right where we left off. But that wasn't the intro of the show. That was the... Oh, you're talking about this book? Yeah. That's because it was a pre-show. All right, it starts off like this. Here's the beginning of the book. Think of yourself as a book publisher, an editor, and you're pulling this out and you're reading. Her name is lost to time. Does that grip you all by itself? Okay. Common statement, maybe. What is known is that she was one of the indigenous Kuna people in Panama's Darien province. A description of her can be culled from the journals of European soldiers and adventurers who met her and her sisters and straightway proposed marriage. Lively and sparkling gray eyes, long black, lank, coarse, straight hair, and dark copper-colored skin, colored, there's an apostrophe where the E goes, copper-colored skin streaked with red paint in the Kuna fashion. She wore a thick golden nose ring, and sometimes multicolored beads roped around her lean, well-featured body. Her father was a regional Kuna chieftain, her grandfather the de facto king of the Kuna, and in the spring of 1680, she was a sex slave, having been snatched from her father's palace by Spanish soldiers and taken to their garrison. The circumstances of her subjugation were not unusual. The Spaniards, who controlled most of the New World at the time, took the position that enslaving the indigenous people was a beneficent act. As an official Spanish historian explained in a 16th century essay, the naturally inferior native population benefited from Spanish tutelage as well as from conversion to Christianity, objectives that were easier to achieve if the converts were first enslaved. I'm going to go on. I'm going to finish this little first section. This will whet your appetite for this book. The Spaniards' self-professed altruism was called into question, though, by their treatment of the enslaved natives. A typical example of a woman in the colony of Hispaniola who one morning told her Spanish overseer that she needed time off from the mine to care for her newborn, whereupon the overseer took the baby in his arms, smashed its skull apart against a rock, and declared the problem solved. The issue was not merely that the conquistadors placed a higher value on gold than on human life, but, as the Incan leader Manco Inca put it, even if the snows of the Andes turned to gold, still they would not be satisfied. In 1501, when the Spaniards discovered Panama, insofar as a land already inhabited for millennia by indigenous people can be discovered, the natives might have appeared relatively fortunate, because the Spanish effort was led by Rodrigo de Bastidas. Rodrigo de Bastidas, regarded as the kindest and most humane of the conquistadors. In a seminal history of the Spanish conquest, Bastidas was described as a gentleman, with the unique distinction of acting like a human being in his dealings with the natives of America. Yet just a year after his arrival in Panama, when two of his ships were sinking, Bastidas and his men rescued their gold and pearls while leaving their chained-up Kuna slaves to drown. This was just the prelude. Over the following 2 centuries, Panama's indigenous peoples were devastated by enslavement, genocide, and European diseases. At its most harmonious, the Spanish-Kuna relationship was that of cats and mice. Many of the Kuna fled into the farthest reaches of the Darien province, 5,000 square miles of mountainous jungle on Panama's eastern border. Others left Panama altogether, settling into the San Blas Islands, an archipelago just off the country's Atlantic coast. On April 3rd of 1680, on Golden Island, a tiny slab of coral sand and palm trees at the eastern end of that archipelago, the princess's grandfather devised a plan to rescue her. Wouldn't this make a good movie as you're reading this? His Spanish name, Andres, was a relic of his own time as a Spanish slave. Since his escape from the Spaniards, he had become the leader of the Kuna community in the San Blas Islands, as well as and as well as a regional chief paramount, what the Europeans thought of as a king, his dominion extending well into the Darien. At his disposal was an army of warriors, many of whom may have been among the finest archers in the world. One English visitor told of 8-year-old Kuna boys able not merely to hit canes standing on end 20 paces away, but unfailingly to split them into with their arrows. I belched just there if you didn't catch that. Were Andreas to send his men to the Spanish garrison to rescue his granddaughter, however, they would be quickly torn apart by Spanish gunfire, against which they had no defense. But he saw a way to enlist a supplemental force whose firepower was as good, if not better than, the Spanish pirates and the English pirates. And this is where Ringrose comes into play in this book. So it's an interesting book. If you've never read about pirates or educated yourself on what they were about, this is a great book because it's very readable, as you can tell from what I just read. So it's a good book. I enjoy it anyway. Morgan Snow, you guys are talking. I see Matthew Sainsbury, Leslie Holker. When America is gone, so is freedom in the world. This is the truth. We are the last great bastion of freedom. It's not that something wouldn't again eventually rise up, but I don't want to see that happen. And what was it? I'm thinking of that quote of Gandalf's from the Lord of the Rings movies, played so well by Sir Ian McClellan. Hang on a second. Find this, where he said this. Let me put on my glasses. Let's see how. I'm looking for a particular quote of what he said. And Leslie, this was kind of in response to what you said. It brought this quote to mind, and I couldn't think of all the words exactly, and I wanted to do it justice. And who said to him, was it Pippin in the movies who said, or was it Bilbo? No, it wasn't Bilbo because he didn't see him until the very end of the first 3 books. But I think it was Pippin who said to him something about not wanting to live in the times that they're in. He's hating the war and so on. I can't remember what was the lead up words, but he says, Gandalf said, "So do all who live to see such times, but that is not for them to decide. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given us." Great quote from Gandalf. Trying to see before he dies. I'm looking for something here, so talk amongst yourselves for a second. I'm looking for what he had to say. And, says Gandalf, no, the journey doesn't end here, he says. I always want to lapse into Ian McClellan voice, but death is just another path, one that we all must take. The gray rain curtain of this world rolls back and all turns to silver glass. And then you see it, white shores and beyond a far green country under a swift sunrise. Let's see. Gandalf had so many amazing things to say in these books that were repeated in the movies. Excuse me. Let's see. Okay. I'm just looking at some of the quotes. And I love the quote where he says, all we have to do is decide what to do with the time that is given us. So there you go. And one of my favorites, use this whenever I can. Good morning, said Bilbo, and he meant it. The sun was shining and the grass was very green, but Gandalf looked at him from under the long bushy eyebrows that stuck out further than the brim of his shady hat. What do you mean, he said. Do you wish me a good morning, or mean that it is a good morning whether I want it or not, or that you feel good this morning, or that it is a morning to be good on? All of them at once, said Bilbo, and a very fine morning for a pipe of tobacco out of doors into the bargain. Good morning, he said at last. We don't want any adventures here, thank you. Oh, wait, this was Bilbo. You might even try the hill or across the water. By this he meant the conversation was at an end. What a lot of things you do use good morning for, said Gandalf. Now you mean that you want to get rid of me and that it won't be good till I move off. That's some of the stuff that's not in the movies, of course. It's the books. Here's more. These are from the books, by the way. So, you cannot pass, he said. The orc stood still, and a dead silence fell. I am a servant of the secret fire, wielder of the flame of Anor. You cannot pass. The dark fire will not avail you, flame of Udin. Go back to the shadow. You cannot pass. Such good stuff. Great. And I remember old Bilbo when he wants to leave and he's still got the ring. And he says, I am old, Gandalf. I don't look it, but I'm beginning to feel it in my heart of hearts. Well preserved indeed. Why, I feel all thin, sort of stretched, if you know what I mean, like butter that's been scraped over too much bread. That can't be right. I need a change or something. Gandalf said, the treacherous are ever distrustful. He went on, he said, many that live deserve death, and some that die deserve life. Can you give it to them? Then do not be too eager to deal out death in judgment, for even the very wise cannot see all ends. I have not much hope that Gollum can be cured before he dies, but there is a chance of it, and he is bound up with the fate of the ring. My heart tells me that he has some part to play yet, for good or ill, before the end, and when that comes, the pity of Bilbo may rule the fate of many, yours not least. So, go back to the abyss, fall into nothingness that awaits you and your master. Oh, it's just fun. It's fun doing that. It's fun getting into voice. I do this. This is how I read these books to my kids. I love doing that. You get in that. And of course, I'm using a model of Gandalf that was done by Ian McClellan. So, anyway. That was the quote I was looking for. 38 best Gandalf quotes. Let's see what these are, shall we? 38 best Gandalf quotes. It is not despair, for despair is only for those who see the end beyond all doubt. We do not, he said. I was talking aloud to myself, a habit of the old. They choose the wisest person present to speak to. Just talking to myself. They choose the wisest person present to speak to. That's from The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers, the book. Let's see. We read that one. I am the servant of the secret fire. Something has crept or has been driven out of dark waters under the mountains. There are older and fouler things than orcs in the deep places of the world. Just looking at more of these quotes. Oh, he's speaking of Sauron. And he says, he is in great fear, not knowing what mighty one may suddenly appear, wielding the ring and assailing him with war, seeking to cast him down and take his place. That we should wish to cast him down and have no one in his place is not a thought that occurs to his mind. That we should try to destroy the ring itself has not yet entered into his darkest dream. This was, I believe it was Frodo that's in this, that said, what a pity that Bilbo did not stab that vile creature when he had a chance. Speaking of Gollum. Pity, says Gandalf. It was pity that stayed his hand, pity and mercy, not to strike without need. And he has been well rewarded, Frodo. Be sure that he took so little hurt from the evil and escaped in the end because he began his ownership of the ring so, with pity. So, let folly be our cloak, a veil before the eyes of the enemy. For he is very wise and weighs all things to a nicety in the scales of his malice. But the only measure that he knows is desire for power, and so he judges all hearts. Into his heart the thought will not enter that any will refuse it, that having the ring we may seek to destroy it. If we seek this, we shall put him out of reckoning. He that breaks a thing to find out what it is left in its... He that breaks a thing to find out what it has left. I'm sorry, the punctuation's different here, the way it's written. He that breaks a thing to find out what it is has left the path of wisdom. It is not our part to master all the tides of the world, but to do what is in us for the succor of those years wherein we are set, uprooting the evil in the fields that we know, so that those who live after may have clean earth to till. Not what weather they shall have is not ours to rule. So, good stuff. It is not our part here to take thought only for a season, or for a few lives of men, or for a passing age of the world. We should seek a final end of this menace, even if we do not hope to make one. There you go. Oh, and this is where I think Bilbo offered the ring to Gandalf when he wanted to leave. You take the ring. He says, "You're wise and powerful. Will you not take the ring?" "No," cried Gandalf, springing to his feet. Now, my son just asked me the other day, why wouldn't Gandalf take the ring? Just the other day, this came up. And Gandalf says, "No," cried Gandalf, springing to his feet. "With that power, I should have power too great and terrible, and over me the ring would gain a power still greater and more deadly." His eyes flashed, and his face was lit as by a fire within. "Do not tempt me, for I do not wish to become like the Dark Lord himself. Yet the way of the ring to my heart is by pity for weakness and the desire of strength to do good. Do not tempt me. I dare not take it, not even to keep it safe unused. The wish to wield it would be too great for my strength. I shall have such need of it. Great peril lies before me." And so on and so on. I could read those quotes all night. I could read the book to you all night. "Are Magneto and Gandalf really the same guy?" says Iowa X. That is a good question. Did you ever see the movie where Ian McKellen plays an elderly Sherlock Holmes? That was a pretty good movie. That came out a couple of years ago. So, Leslie's gone. I missed her exiting. Good night, Leslie. Yeah, shut up, Dave Potter. I did not. Old man. So, let's see. What do we got? It's about 10:30. Hate to say it, but the French are good at being mature also. That's great, Iowa X. A mature culture has mastered the art of minding your own business. And as I've said before, as they said during the American Revolution, not by your leave. That was the philosophy. I'm not going to do anything with your permission. I don't need your permission to do anything, not by your leave. So there you go. Iowa X lived in Japan for years. No one in my business at all in Japan. Does Obama believe Biden is a corrupt fool or just a fool? Just an idiot? I know he didn't give him much never mind a few weeks ago. See, now, I don't know, where did you dredge that up? I'd like to know that. Or do you've got a pretty good idea that's what he's thinking? Obama is making the decisions right now, him and the rest of the traitors in Washington, says Leslie. I love you too, Michelle. Hey, are you on your way out or just saying it? Just blurting that out because it came to your mind. Let's see. I read a bunch of Gandalf quotes. I think I read a couple of Gandalf quotes. Let's see. Michelle Cannon Free gives us an apostrophe. Or was it a comma? So. Obama let him collect his bag in Ukraine while VP. Yeah, ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? I would love some of that to come out. But see, it's not politically efficacious for the left to let that come out, obviously, and for obvious reasons. This is where I hate the playing of political games. I remember when they were all accusing Trump of certain things, I voted for Trump, and that was where my allegiances lay at the time. And I remember saying, hey, if Trump did this, then he should be taken out of office. But I don't think he did it. Whatever the particular thing was, that Trump crime of du jour back a few years ago when he was in office. There had to be something new every day. All they're trying to do now with these hearings and things is try to make sure that Trump can't run again. I don't know if he's the best guy to run again. But he's certainly got a higher approval rating now than he had at certain points in his presidency. So that's interesting. So, Michelle is laughing. Well, that's good. I'm glad. Oh, it's been a tough day. Well, yeah. I understand tough days. My day wasn't tough. It was weird today. I'm working on projects and trying to get stuff done. And I get up really early sometimes because I wake up and I just don't want to go back to bed. My mind's too active, even though my body doesn't always want to cooperate. And so I was up about 3:45, 4 o'clock this morning, something like that, which I used to be able to do with vigor. And now I wake up and I make my coffee and round about, what time was it? It was about 4:30, 4:45 tonight, maybe even as late as 5. It's just the proverbial, shit hit the fan as far as being awake. And I was sitting, Rainey was sitting there and the kids were around. We'd had something to eat. And I was just sitting there on the sofa. And what did I have? I had a chicken salad sandwich. And I sat on the sofa and I was watching a show I wanted to watch. I'm nodding off. And I'm like, what the hell? I said, that's it. You know what? I got to go lay down. Otherwise, I'm going to be worthless when it comes showtime. That's around 5 o'clock-ish. So I laid down. And I woke up around 7:15, something like that, with a thunderstorm. I heard thunder, and I went, oof. And it was a bit incoherent. I thought, what the heck? And I didn't know where I was or who I was. Yeah, if you're going to get up that early, just stay up all night. Sometimes I have. But I figure I got to have some sleep in there somewhere. So, you were planning to come on? You didn't let me know. Matthew Sainsbury, I'm pulling your leg now. Giving you crap. Anybody can come on. And since nobody is at this late hour and we're down to 9 people in the chat room, I think I might call it quits. Hey, Sean, good to see you. Welcome. If you just got here, we're gonna get out of here. So it's 11:30 in Barbados, which you're only an hour ahead of us. Okay, I suppose. When you think East Coast and Florida and the Gulf of Mexico and down there, and you're all down there in the Caribbean, Barbados, I guess you're East Coast time, Eastern time, as they say. Well, that's all I got for tonight. And tomorrow night, we'll either continue on with this if I feel inspired to keep this individuation self thing going, or if I want to get into something totally different. We'll see what I feel like tomorrow. But as for now, let's call it quits for tonight. Everybody go to bed. It's late. Was here in the back row. Oh, good to see you, Sean. Glad you were here. So, without further ado, I think that's it. I think we'll call it for tonight. I want to thank you all for being here. And I appreciate your time. I appreciate your coming in, spending it here. So tomorrow, Thursday, tomorrow's garbage day around here. Makes me think, did we take the garbage cans out? Well, I'm up at 4 a.m. anyway, so I can either do it now. You know, the night, the Wednesday night where I go, I don't want to go outside now and do it. It's late, etc., etc. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll wake up at 4 o'clock is the day I wake up as I hear the garbage truck picking up the trash. So anyway, so you all have a good night. I'll see you tomorrow. Live long and prosper.